Replay. It's our first winner from the viewer-submitted deck contest. Ronus, God of the Fight Club, Hydras. Can Ronas Tyler Durden its way to victory past Rubinia, the Gitrog monster, and Shalai? Find out next on Commander Replay. Welcome back, everyone. Viewer-submitted deck winner number 1, Ronas the Indomitable. Let's take a look at our opening hand. It looks awful. It's a one-lander. Let's mulligan that guy. All right, much better. We got lands, a Sol Ring, and some other fun stuff that we can do. I'm liking that a whole lot better. Go ahead and keep that. So like I said, viewer-submitted deck contest winner number 1, Ronas the Indomitable, a.k.a. Ronas, God of Hydras. Ooh, that brings it around to our turn 1. So Shalai starts off with a Landwar Elf on their turn 1. We will drop a Forest, play a Sol Ring, tap out, and pass. So, Ronas, God of Hydras / God of Fight Club. I got really excited when I saw this deck, being that it's partially Hydra tribal. I counted about 12 Hydras in the deck currently. I had tried to build a Hydra deck in the past using Atraxa, and it was terrible. I wonder if I could rebuild it better now, but anyway, I got really excited when I saw the deck list. Hydras are just a lot of fun, and upon reading the deck list, it looked like a lot of fun and just something that I really wanted to play. So here we are, Ronas the Indomitable. Congratulations to Xander at Nip1 for submitting the deck and having their deck chosen as a winner. Our turn 2, play land. We did that out of order. All right, so in that case, we will drop the Abundance right here. I'd actually meant to play the Tireless Tracker right there, but oops. We'll be mana efficient and get this Abundance down. Also, just wanted to say thank you to you guys. The other night, the channel just hit 2,500 subscribers, so I really just wanted to say thank you to everyone. The past few months have been absolutely crazy. People have been showing up to the channel and subscribing at a rate that I can barely even keep up with. So I really appreciate all of your guys' support. Gaia's Blessing. Basically just going to cycle to draw a card. But yeah, I started the viewer-submitted deck contest, I don't know what, probably about 2 months ago, and in that time, I think the channel was around 1,300 subscribers at that point. I'd have to double-check, but I think like 1,200 subscribers have shown up in that time, and it's just been absolutely crazy. So thank you to all of you guys. And that's a Shalai Voice of Plenty coming into play. We played Shalai on the channel. Never actually used Abundance online. Choose which replacement effect to use instead of drawing a card. If you would draw a card, you may instead choose land or non-land. I think we want non-land right here. Non-land. Cool, we get a Beast Within. Sweet. So this time we'll sequence things correctly and play the Tireless Tracker, then play the land, then we'll get a clue, and then I guess we'll crack the clue. Why not? We get an Abundance replacement effect, and we'll choose land this time. Make sure we keep it in our land drops. And we'll put these guys to the bottom. There's an Uvenwald Hydra. Uvenwald Hydra is really, really sweet. It doesn't take long for it to get huge, and it has the benefit of being able to block big flyers, which this Shalai deck could be running. So let's take a look at what our opponents are actually playing. First up, we have Rubinia Soulsinger, 2 green, white, blue for a 2/3. You may choose not to untap it. Gain control of target creature for as long as Rubinia remains tapped. Commander that's been around for a really long time. Interestingly, I don't see it very much. In the past, I've played Marike Rebarret, which is a very similar type of effect, except that Marike has a destroy trigger that happens when it untaps. But I feel like I should have seen more of Rubinia over the years, considering it says gain control of target creature. Now, sometimes gaining control of creatures does rub people the wrong way, so I can see why maybe it hasn't been played as much in that aspect, but yeah, it's a commander that I would have expected to have seen more of over the years, but don't run into it all that often for some reason. So Shalai goes in the attack, brings the Gitrog down to 37. We get another Abundance choice. We'll go non-land right here. There's an Uvenwald Tracker. Play this Forest. Get another clue. I think we'll play the Ronas right here. Ronas is a 5/5. Ronas needs a creature with power 4 or greater to attack or block. We do have that in Tireless Tracker. I think after that, we lay down this Uvenwald Tracker, and if all goes well, we should be able to start fighting stuff next turn. Right now, since Shalai is tapped out, I'm going to send the Tireless Tracker their way. So Shalai takes 4, goes down to 36, and with that, we will pass the turn. I actually skipped over our commander, so taking a look at what Ronas does, by the way, is 2 and a green, is a 5/5 with Death Touch and Indestructible. It can't attack or block unless you control another creature with power 4 or greater, and pay 3, another target creature gets +2/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. Haven't seen a ton of Ronas as the commander in Commander. It tends to show up a little bit more often in the 99 of green decks, especially since for green in Commander, it's really easy to have a creature power 4 or greater. That is such an almost non-existent drawback to the card in Commander that, yeah, it just makes sense to run Ronas. The Gitrog coming into play. But this deck has a lot of cards that want to fight This deck cares a lot about fighting, so we're going to be able to make really good use of both of Ronas's abilities with the Death Touch and the Indestructible, which I'm pretty excited about, which we should be able to start using in our next turn here. Whew, that's an Angel of Deliverance. Okay, opponent has 0 card types in the graveyard, so the worst part of Angel of Deliverance is not relevant. How'd they get that into play? Oh, they have a Gilded Lotus out. Well, that makes sense. All right, then. Let's see what Shalai decides to do. Shalai can attack into the Rubinia Soulsinger. Sounds good. So, end step, we're going to crack this clue. We're going to go non-land right here. Get a Hydra Broodmaster. And then for this one, we'll go land. There's a strip mine. Anything worth strip mining yet? Doesn't look like it. We will run it out there anyway. Get another Tireless Tracker trigger. So, Tireless Tracker doing some work for us. Having Tireless Tracker with Abundance, pretty sweet. That is a nice little interaction. Abundance is a card, it's like usually one of the last cards that I cut from my green decks. Not that I've been playing a ton of green lately. Where to attack? I think we'll split it up, and I'm going to send the Tireless Tracker into the Rubinia, Ronas into the Gitrog opponent. Opponent's going to block with the token. That's fine with me. We're going to shoot down the Gitrog right here, because we really don't want the Gitrog to start doing all of its crazy shenanigans. So this Cartouche of Strength, yeah, we'll put it on the Ronas. So Cartouche of Strength, going to have Ronas fight the Gitrog, and Gitrog goes down, goes back to the command zone. And with that, we will pass the turn. If Shalai decides that they want to start getting frisky, then we can use the Uvenwald Tracker and the Beast Within and kill things as necessary. So the Rubinia opponent passes without doing anything. That's so unbelievably suspicious. They only have 5 mana up, so it's not a Cyclonic Rift. Could be something like a Comeuppance or an Aetherize. I'm not sure, but definitely suspicious. There's an hour of promise for our opponent. Search your library for 2 lands, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. If there's some deserts out there, make some zombies. Gets a Golgari Rot Farm and a Dakmor Salvage. That's fine. I mean, with a card like that, you could just go for the Dark Depths combo. Not that that's necessarily going to make a lot of friends, but it is a thing that you could do. So opponent's going to sacrifice their Dakmor Salvage, play a Crop Rotation. So Gitrog still with nothing in play, though they got some mana ramp going that turn, so they'll have a lot of mana for next turn. Easily able to recast their commander. But still wide open for this turn, so we can put some damage on them if we want to. Finishing up on our opponents, by the way, the Gitrog monster, 3 black-green, is 6/6 Death Touch. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice the Gitrog unless you sacrifice a land. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Whenever 1 or more lands are put into your graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. The Gitrog is a really interesting deck. It wants to play and sacrifice a lot of lands, and it's going to end up cycling a lot of things into the graveyard. My big problem with the Gitrog is that I've watched people take like 10-15 minute turns with the Gitrog, not doing anything other than just putting stuff into their graveyard. So they spend a long time doing stuff that like doesn't actually further the game a lot of times, and it can be annoying to play against that where they're just sitting there doing a whole lot of nothing. Collective effort, you say? Ooh. Do we have any protection these sort of stuff? No? So opponent's going to take down our Abundance, which is unfortunate. Is there any weird way in which we can get our creature under 4 power? It does not appear like it. So I guess what we do right here is we crack the clue while we still have Abundance up. We're going to go for a land right here because we want to keep making land drops. It's only turn 6. We only have 1 land left in hand, so let's get a land. We end up putting some stuff to the bottom. Ooh, Zendikar Resurgent. Could use that. So we lose the Tireless Tracker and the Abundance. Man, that was doing so much work for us. So the Shalai opponent going to send their Angel of Deliverance into the Rubinia. Let's see if Rubinia wants to do anything about it. Nope, takes the 7, drops down to 33. End step, we're going to do some fighting. Ooh, now Ronas can't attack or block. That's super annoying. Well, if we play a creature, then that shouldn't be too bad. So we'll have Ronas fight the Shalai since that's the only legal target. So Shalai goes down, back to the command zone. Ooh, there's a Kodama's Reach. That's good. That'll help us keep making land drops and accelerate a bit more. Man, I'm so sad not having that Tireless Tracker anymore. The Kodama's Reach with that would have been pretty sweet. Rubinia still leaving a bunch of mana untapped makes me incredibly nervous. We do need to play a creature before combat, so we will go ahead and do that. Play the Hydra Broodmaster, makes Ronas an attacker, and we will go back into the Gitrog monster. So Gitrog down to 26 and 11 commander damage from us. So Rubinia didn't end up playing anything in that turn cycle. Still really suspicious. Gonna play Saheeli's Artistry on the Angel of Deliverance. So they get a artifact token copy of the Angel of Deliverance. Also copies the Gilded Lotus. That is not a bad turn. Neither opponent has Delirium yet, so the Angel of Deliverance not super scary yet. There's a Horn of Greed from the Gitrog. The Horn of Greed should help us out a little bit. Now, it's also going to do a lot of work for the Gitrog, but we will be able to play a land this turn and then play a land that we find with the Kodama's Reach next turn, and that'll hopefully draw us into probably another land and some more action. I like drawing cards right here. We could definitely use some more card draw. Vine Lasher Kudzu. Man, there's a card I haven't seen in forever. That used to show up occasionally when I used to play Casual Extended. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Vine Lasher Kudzu. Good times. And a Crucible of Worlds for the Gitrog. Yeah, that seems pretty good with their deck. No Gitrog this turn, though. Ooh, opponent's going to disenchant our Sol Ring? When there's a Crucible of Worlds on the tape? All right. Yeah, Shalai's about to eat it this coming turn. Opponent gets a Horn of Greed trigger. Shalai Voice of Plenty coming back into play. Ooh, a Mending of Dominaria. Top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. It does that twice. And then the third is return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, shuffle your graveyard into your library. We got lucky that Delirium is not yet active with the Angel of Deliverance, so that was a nice little dodge right there. No attacks from the Shalai. Well, that's okay. We're still going to have Ronas fight the Shalai. Start running up that commander tax on them. There's a land, so we'll play a land, draw a card with the Horn of Greed. There's a Llanowar Elves. Probably just hang on to that for now. I feel like there's going to be a board wipe at some point here. 2 opponents with white, 1 with black. Those are board wipe colors. Then we're going to send the Ronas into the Shalai. Well, we probably could have attacked with the Hydra Broodmaster also, but whoops. So Shalai down to 30. Takes 6 commander damage. Let's fire off the Kodama's Reach right here. I'm going to leave that Strip Mine up just in case on the Gitrog. You know what? I am going to play the Llanowar Elves right here because I want to get some additional mana ramp going for this Hydra Broodmaster. Opponent's going to play in Kraken Evolving Wilds. Horn of Greed trigger. Off the deal. Opponent's going to play a Copy Enchantment. What are they copying? Going to copy the Mending of Dominaria. Seems good. Opponent has 3 card types in the graveyard. Opponent's going to swing into us with the Angel of Deliverance. That's fine, we'll take it. So we go down to 34. Opponent's going to cycle a Polluted Mire. Opponent plays a land. Vine Lasher Kudzu is going to get a counter. Opponent's going to play a Raven's Crime. Who are they targeting? They targeting themselves? Yeah, opponent's targeting themselves with it. That is just silly. Targets themselves again. Not sure what their plan is. Oh, it could be a Living Death or something. No. Girapur Orrery. Oh, okay. That makes sense. They're trying to get underneath the Girapur Orrery. Gives us a little bit of incentive to try to maybe empty out our hand. I imagine we're probably still 2 turns away from that. We could fire off the Beast Within right here. We could use the Rabbit Bite on our turn. We could drop 2 lands, but we would draw 2 additional cards off of the Horn of Greed. And I don't know. Basically, I mean, at that point, they'd have to both be non-lands, and we'd have both of them, which seems unlikely. So that Girapur Orrery ability is actually really hard to achieve. Even in decks that don't draw well, you still usually have like 1 or 2 cards left in hand. It is actually very difficult to get down to 0 cards. At least with most of the decks that I play, it's always seemed really difficult to get that Girapur Orrery trigger. Ooh, we got to play faster. We're down to 13 minutes on the clock. This is a short game at 25 minutes, so we are going to need to speed things up. Opponent puts a Sunbond into the graveyard. Opponent does have Delirium on the Angel of Deliverance, so they're swinging into us. Yeah, that means we got to shoot it down. So have Ronas fight the Angel of Deliverance. I do not believe that is combat damage, my friend. Opponent plays a lull, prevents all combat damage. I don't think fighting is combat damage. We're about to find out. Oh, opponent's still going to get that exile trigger. Oh, I thought it was only combat damage on the Angel of Deliverance. Well, there's something I wasn't expecting to see. So opponent's going to exile our Uvenwald tracker. That's not the best. Whoops. That all could have been prevented. I've tried to run this card in my Angel Tribal decks, and it is so hard to get into play. Either you get it into play and you don't have Delirium, or it's just so slow. You tap out on turn 8, and then you probably just die to whatever your opponents do on that turn, is a problem that I've seen from Angel of Deliverance. So even in my Angel Tribal decks, I really don't run it that often. Though I suppose in one of the Reanimator ones I could, just because you tend to fill up the graveyard anyway. Something I could probably take another look at, especially in the red-white one. Undergrowth Champion and an Armorcraft Judge coming down for the Shalai opponent. There's a Hunt the Weak. Right here, play a forest, draw a card. We draw another forest. Play a forest, draw a card. We draw another forest. The question is, do we just start fighting everything under the sun? The answer is probably. The other thing we could do, we can get quite a bit with this Hydra Broodmaster. I think we'll do that. We'll go Rabid Bite on the Angel of Deliverance. Opponent's going to play a commit, put target spell or non-land permanent into its owner's library, second from the top. Ooh, rough. So that's actually going to fizzle the Rabid Bite. Interesting. Which means I think we recast Ronas. Then we will Hunt the Weak Ronas on the Angel of Deliverance. Ooh. Angel of Deliverance deals damage, gets another exile trigger. Let's see what they go after. Goes after our Hydra. Man, Angel of Deliverance doing some work this game. There's a card you just really don't see much of. Gotten exiled with 2 of them. I have played that card, and I've given it a fair chance. It never comes up that you get the ability to exile with that thing. So really surprising that that's happened, although our fight mechanic helping out in that regard. Everflowing Chalice X4? Wow. So Horn of Greed trigger and a Vine Lasher Kudzu trigger for our opponent. And same thing again. Mending of Dominaria for the Gitrog opponent. That seems really good. Bet they've got some lands in their graveyard. Actually, just one land? That is surprising. Well, if they play their Gitrog, then I'm sure they'll have more lands in their graveyard very, very soon. Fork in the road for our opponent. Ooh. So Rubinia has a Mimic Vat in play. Need to be careful of that. That might be worth the Beast Within. Opponent's going to Raven's Crime us, so we will discard a Forest. I really wish Ronas could plus itself. It'd probably be busted if it could, but that would be so amazing. Opponent decides to shoot our Strip Mine. So opponent's going to get the Return All Land Cards ability and shuffle your graveyard off the Mending of Dominaria. Shalai Voice of Plenty coming back into play. Casting cost on that thing's getting pretty expensive. Opponent's going to swing into us with the Undergrowth Champion. Not much we can do about it, so we're just going to have to take it. Land War Envoy coming down for our opponent. We could use some big draws right here. What is this? Monstrous Onslaught. Deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures where X is the greatest power among creatures you control as you cast this spell. Interesting. So let's start by playing this Forest. We draw another Forest. Play that Forest. We draw, Soul of the Harvest. Yeah, that could be helpful. Rubinia still has a lot of cards in hand, which makes me nervous. But I think we need to blow up this Mimic Vat. All right, let's play the Soul of the Harvest. Send Ronas into the Shalai opponent. Opponent's going to block with a creature. That's fine. It goes under the Mimic Vat. It's only a mana dork. I can live with it. So I think what we do at the end step, we shoot down the Shalai, and then after that, we play the Monstrous Onslaught and try to blow up all their stuff. So the Rubinia opponent's going to get the third trigger on Mending of Dominaria. Aven Wind Guide, what is that? It's a 2/3 Flying Vigilance. Creature tokens you control have Flying and Vigilance, and it has Embalm. I actually don't want to kill the Gitrog right now because they have the Yirper Orrery and Horn of Greed out, which are actually helping us quite a bit. I'm actually hoping we find a land off the top so that we can get the Horn of Greed cycle going. Triggers for the Gitrog opponent. There's a Sylvan Advocate on top of their library. Nice card, especially in a lands deck. There's a Seer Sundial. I would sign up for one of those right now. So Sylvan Advocate coming into play. Tempt with Discovery, you say? I guess now's when we look at our deck list to see if there's anything interesting to search out. Got an Ancient Tomb. Mosswarp Bridge is something. Yeah, I guess we find the Mosswarp Bridge so we can try to get some card advantage going. So a whole bunch of triggers for the Gitrog opponent. Going to gain some life. That Vine Lasher Kudzu is going to get bigger. Undergrowth Champion's going to get a Landfall trigger. And we get a Mosswarp Bridge Hideaway trigger. What do we have? We have Vizier of the Menagerie, Uvenwald Hydra. Uvenwald Hydra... Vizier of the Menagerie gets us card advantage. Uvenwald Hydra gets us a lot of power and looks good with this Monstrous Onslaught. Let's go with the Uvenwald Hydra right here because we'll get any creatures we play will get us card draw off of the Soul of the Harvest as long as that sticks around. Uvenwald Hydra is really hard for really anything to attack into us. It has reach and it gets huge, which is pretty sweet. This deck could probably use just a couple more utility lands in it. A small contingent of utility lands would probably help a little bit. Being that it is monocolor, there are a lot of ways to search lands out, so you can get a little bit greedy going with some of the colorless lands. In case you get to a point like where we're at right now, where we've got some open mana, we've got ways to search for lands, but we don't have anything terribly interesting to go get. That Vine Lasher Kudzu is now an 11/11. That's fun. Shalai is going to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature. So pumping everything up. Going to play Patron of the Valiant. Enters the battlefield. +1/+1 counter on each creature. All right. Bunch of triggers on the stack. Oh no! Our Mosswarp Bridge is getting wastelanded. Ugh. That is rough. There might be a price to pay for that. Yeah, Gitrog's got some stuff going now. We may need to start paying attention to them. So Shalai going to go into the Gitrog. Yeah, I think we need to turn attention to the Gitrog now. They're starting to get their engine going. Some really big creatures out there. That being the case, I think we're just going to save the Beast Within. Back to our turn. We get a land, play the land. Horn of Greed trigger. We get a Steel Leaf Champion. Play the Steel Leaf Champion. We get another card draw with Soul of the Harvest. Another creature. Let's play it. Gets us more card draw. There's a Prey Upon. That's good news. Let us prey upon the Vine Lasher Kudzu. That thing is huge. Opponent's going to get a Vine Lasher Kudzu under the Mimic Vat. We're going to go to combat against the Gitrog. Probably going to leave the Soul of the Harvest back. Don't really want to expose it in combat. We're going to send in Ronas, and we're going to send it straight at our opponent. Unfortunately, we don't have Trample anymore on the Ronas. The reason I'm doing this is because they basically have to block. And they'll probably block with the plant, just like I thought. And I think we pass like that. We're not really in a position where we can kind of like pick on too many people at the moment. So what's Thespian Stage copying? Thespian Stage becomes a Golgari Rot Farm. There are worse things. Makes a copy of the Land War Envoy. Opponent's going to make another token with the Mimic Vat. Couple of envoys going. So opponent's going to send their flyers at the Nissa. Sounds good to me. Doubling season for the Rubinia opponent. That's going to do some work with the Mimic Vat. I might have played it before I used the Mimic Vat, but that's just me. Fairy Artisans. Create a token. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, create a token that's a copy of that creature. It's an artifact. Exile all... Ooh. So Rubinia is starting to climb into this game a little bit too. Right now, I don't feel so great. We lost a lot of our good pieces. I really just wanted to keep going to town with the Uvenwald Tracker, but that got exiled a while back, and that is the thing. Exile target artifact or enchantment going after the Mending of Dominaria. Okay, I'm down for that. Tokens get exiled off the Mimic Vat. Gear per Orrery trigger for the Gitrog. Interestingly, we killed their Gitrog, on turn, I don't know, what, 4 or 5 or something? And they have not recast it since then. That seems very strange. Heart of Yamavaya, sweet card. So finally coming back into play, the Gitrog monster on turn 10. I believe the Fairy Artisan creates a token of the Gitrog monster. It creates 2 tokens of the Gitrog monster, and they have Flying and Vigilance. That seems really good. Oh, excuse me. 1 token of the Gitrog. Oh, right. 1 token of the Gitrog is its legendary. Duh. Doubling Season might be worth this Beast Within, I think. It'd be way too much value. Opponent still has some blue mana up, so we'll need to be a little bit careful. Oh, they also have a Gilded Lotus, so they've got plenty of mana. Strip Mine going after the Chancery. Rough. Oh, there's a Vorinclex on top of Gitrog's deck. Ooh. So I believe opponent just drew the Vorinclex. Gonna Strip Mine again on the Thespian stage for the Rubinia opponent. Opponent's gonna respond with the Sundering Growth on their Crucible of Worlds. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. Crucible of Worlds causing some problems. Opponent's got a Sylvan Safekeeper on top of their deck. That card is surprisingly dangerous. In the right deck, Sylvan Safekeeper is insane. And I would call Gitrog the right deck. Ooh, Gitrog opponent going all out shooting Rubinia's lands. Gonna Ghost Quarter another land. Wow. Brutal. We lost one really important land, which was that Moss Warp Bridge, because I really, really wanted Uvenwald Hydra off that thing. Would have been so good with this monstrous onslaught. There's a Glazing Guildheart for the Gitrog opponent. Man, all of the land triggers. We probably need to use this monstrous onslaught this turn. Opponent's going to start gaining life like crazy. Yep, more life gain. Problem is, I don't want to use all of our removal knowing that there's a Vorinclex floating around. So, Sylvan Safekeeper into play. Yeah, opponent can do some weird stuff with the card draw in the Sylvan Safekeeper. And there's an Elixir of Immortality for our opponent. No attacks from the Gitrog. Ooh, Gitrog scoops it. Huh. Well, that's annoying. Anyway, you have to try to figure out the rest of this game. In our current position, I feel behind. We have some decent things. Ooh, that's an Aegis Angel. Not great. In response to that, we are going to blow up the Doubling Season. So shoot the Doubling Season. Ooh, opponent has a Sylvan Safekeeper? Target creature gain Shroud. Okay, creature gain Shroud. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. Doubling Season still goes down. Good. So Aegis Angels aplenty. So shall I voice a plenty going into the Rubinia opponent and sending the Patron of the Valiant into us? No blocks. So we go down to 21 and back to our turn. We draw Hunter's Prowess. How do we get the most amount of damage through? Because we need to draw some cards. I guess we start by tapping out all of our mana. So we have 13 mana to work with. It's going to take 10. Ooh, we are not going to get as much mana as I had hoped off all of this. Use Ronas one time on the Soul of the Harvest. Play Monstrous Onslaught. We can get 8 damage, divide any way we choose. Start by shooting the Aegis Angel. So we'll go like that. Opponent's going to get another creature under the Mimic Vat. Put the Hunter's Prowess on our Soul of the Harvest. Maybe we just put it on Ronas. Yeah, let's just put it on Ronas. The Death Touch Trample should work really, really well. Swing into the Rubinia opponent. Opponent's going to block. So we're going to get through for 8, which means we'll get to draw 8 cards. Opponent goes down to 25. They lose the token. Drop a Forest. Play an Elvish Mystic, get another card draw, and pass the turn. So now we have some stuff going. The problem is we might just die to aerial combat. So opponent's got a Gitrog monster in play, meaning they're going to have to sacrifice a land. Gilded Lotus for our opponent. Flying Gitrog coming into us. Yep, that's going to hit. Imprison in the Moon on the Shalai. Ooh, nice. That means that there's a chance we could survive back to our next turn. I'm a little nervous that we won't. Oh, hey, Bonds of Morality deals with that hexproof problem. That's kind of cool. That's a Lyra Dawnbringer. Lifelink is going to be a problem. Let's see how bad it is. Oh, we're so lucky. Opponent's going after the Rubinia opponent. Ooh. Opponent goes up to 43. Rubinia's down to 12. Plays a Song of Freyalise. Until end of turn, creatures get Birds of Paradise ability. Back to our turn, we draw a Crossing Grip. Does that matter right here? Doesn't. Mimic Vat could be relevant. I think right here we just try to slam as many things as we can. Start with this Colonian Twin Groves. We get a draw and a token. Draw land, play the land. I'm going to play this Pelucranos. Opponent's going to Mimic Vat something. Mimic Vat the Fairy Artisans, so they'll get a Pelucranos also. I think we shoot the Mimic Vat right here with the 3 we have floating. So we get to draw again. We draw Garrick's Pack Leader, and we'll play the Bonds of Mortality. We get to draw a card. No real profitable attacks right here, so we're just going to pass. Ooh, Tristani's Judgment on the Lyra Dawnbringer. Opponent has to sacrifice to the Gitrog monster. Beat 2 Ghazi Guildmage. Mind Stone for our opponent. Opponent's going to populate. Ooh, opponent's going to come into us for a bunch. We do not have any flying blockers. This might kill us. Oh, it puts us exactly at 0. Oh, that sucks. So in this game, I think I did a bad job of picking fights with too many opponents at once. At some point, each opponent played a relevant removal spell against us and took down a lot of our tools, which hurt pretty bad. In the beginning of the game, I was feeling really good. We were in a great position to really kind of control the board. With the Uvenwald Tracker, we had the card draw with Abundance and Tireless Tracker. That was all really sweet, and once that stuff started getting blown up, we were kind of relying off the Gitrog monster for our card draw, and I really would have liked to see a little bit more card draw in the middle of the game that wasn't reliant upon that Gitrog monster. I know there's a Harmonize in here. This deck has some of the usual suspects of green card draw. I would probably add just a couple more, since with all those fight spells, they are essentially single target removal, so you do want to have a lot of card draw to be able to draw into your other stuff. When we lost the Uvenwald Hydra, that was the one that we would have needed to protect ourselves from all the flyers hanging around in this game, and that unfortunately got blown up by the Gitrog on a Wasteland, so that kind of sucked. We really wanted to get that down. It would have got us an additional card draw also with the Soul of the Harvest in play. So yeah, I think my execution with this deck was just a little bit off in terms of understanding how much I could pick on certain opponents versus leaving other ones. Leaving the Gitrog alive for a while probably caused some issues as well. If we just focused them down and got them out of the game, then the Mosswart Bridge holding our Uvenwald Hydra doesn't get blown up, and that would have been really sweet. So opponent making more tokens. They're going to populate again. They have 4 Fairy Artisans. That's ridiculous. And they have a copy of our Pelucranos, which means if they untap with it next turn, then, oh, they just untap with it. So this Rabinia opponent might get there. They have a bunch of flyers. They have the Pelucranos. Opponent doesn't have access to their Shalai because of Imprison in the Moon. There's a Rex Sage. They're going after the Song of Freyalise, probably. Yep, goes after the Song of Freyalise. So Rubinia passes the turn with a whole bunch of mana up. Have to imagine that the Pelucranos is coming. Ooh. So Shalai passes, no attacks. Didn't want to attack into all the flying tokens. Oop. Opponent says they looked away and didn't realize they skipped their turn. Yeah, that's not what you want to be doing this late in the game. Pelucranos is going to shoot something for X6, or several things for X6. I would have probably gone even more on it, honestly. And take down the Aegis Angel. Then he's going to populate. So if opponent cast a single creature, I think the Rubinia opponent gets like 5 or 6 copies of it with all these Fairy Artisans. That's not a great place to be. Interestingly, there hasn't been a single board wipe in this game, which I found really interesting given the colors in the game. That's a Cloud Shift. Opponent Cloud Shifts their Aegis Angel. Yeah, that's like 5 Fairy Artisan copies. That might be the end of this game. That is a lot of flying and indestructible. Yep. So opponent has 5 Aegis Angels out. Most of the relevant stuff is indestructible now. Both opponents fighting against the clock, though. The clock is ticking down. Wildest Dreams. Return X cards from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Wildest Dreams. Not sure what he's going for. Hope it's something. It's got to be something that's worth it, though. Tristani's Judgment. Can exile another flyer, then populate. I don't know if I would have done that given how low their clock is. I think they really just need to, like, start turning things sideways. Avenwind Guide coming back. Opponent turns just about everything sideways. Decides to leave a couple back for blocking. I don't know if this is actually lethal all in one shot. That doesn't look like 40. That's 25, 30... 38, 40. Yeah, it is lethal. It's lethal assuming no blocks, but opponent's definitely going to block at least a few things. Oh, they only have 1 blocker. Goes down to 2. Wow. So Shalai needs a board wipe. That is their only way out of this. Living Wish. Choose a creature or land outside the game. Yep, that's not a board wipe. Marwyn the Nurturer. Opponent gets 1,000,000 copies of it. The Rubinia opponent could die to the clock with all these Fairy Artisan triggers. If Shalai just keeps playing creatures, they might run out of time and not have enough time to attack them. So back to Rubinia's turn. Gitrog monster trigger going on the stack. When you're fighting the clock, you don't want to be seeing upkeep triggers like that. So opponent sending everything to combat. This should do it. Opponent has 0 cards in hand and no really relevant things in play to stop that much damage. So Rubinia's Soul Singer getting there in the end. Wouldn't have expected that. Shalai had some power out there early. Gitrog was starting to build up quite a bit, and we started out strong and then kind of tapered off since everyone kind of targeted us down for a little bit. But I thought the deck was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed playing it. I probably got just a little bit too aggressive with the rest of the table and shooting their stuff, so that's probably an area for improvement. What I would probably do, I would probably either go full Hydra Tribal, just because that sounds like a ton of fun, or I would go a more devout Ronas build. Right now it's kind of in the middle. It's totally fine the way it is, but I really just want to say that I have a Hydra Tribal deck, so I would probably make one version where I just force it into complete Hydra Tribal, get all the good tribal stuff going, Descendants Path, Urza's Incubator, those sort of things. Or the other path where just Ronas fight everything. Both builds sound like a ton of fun, but like I said, I really enjoyed playing this deck. The two things that I might change are a couple more utility lands, being that we're in monocolor, we can definitely afford it. And the other thing is maybe just a little bit more card draw. As I said, this deck is using a lot of single target removal, which means that you're going to burn through cards fairly quickly. So I'd probably add just a couple more card draw slots, something like a Sylvan Library. I know they're a little bit pricey. The 5-mana Garruk, maybe one or two other things, just to make sure that you always have a lot of cards in your hand. But other than that, really enjoyed the deck. Thanks to Xander Atnip. And this has been Viewer Submitted Deck Winner number 1. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.